evening, everybody, and welcome to this licensing committee. For the sake of a couple of new members, I might start with just a few introductions of the officers, if that's all right with everybody.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mr. Olu Ideu. I'm head of legal services here, and I'm here to advise the chair and the members in terms of law and procedure today. Welcome to all the new members. I recognize quite a few of the of the established faces, not the old faces. And yes, I can see one or two of the new ones. Welcome to licensing committee.
Hello, I'm Jackie Waring. I'm the Democratic Services Officer that supports this meeting. Kim?
Angela Rawson. I'm the Service Manager for licensing, an area which covers everything from taxis to animals to pubs, clubs, gambling. Anything that needs permission, then it usually comes through me.
Yeah, hi, evening all. I am Pop Gill. I'm the Head of Service for Community Safety, and licensing is one of my areas of responsibility.
I'm Councillor Gaurav Pandey from Mackworth and New Zealand Ward.
Hello everybody, Jamie Mulhall, Oakwood Councillor.
Councillor Jonathan Smale, Spondon Ward.
Hello, Councillor Martin Rawson from Chaddesden West Ward.
I am Councillor Neil Wilson from Chaddesden North Ward.
Steve Lakin from Chellaston.
Kathy Kozlowski from Chaddesden West.
Sarah Chambers from Symphony and Osmiston.
Hi, I'm Gay Kieran Core, Councillor for Normanton.
Valerie Sandu, Councillor for Norman Ward.
Councillor Kirk Course, Councillor for Alveston North.
Alan Lindsay, Alveston South.
Thank you. And I'm Councillor Alison Holmes, Chair of the committee, and Councillor for Mickleover Ward. Sorry, just pause in a minute to see what.
We should wait until they come in, otherwise they'll say there's some business transacted.
We're just going to wait a couple of minutes because there's some people coming into the gallery.
It appears that for whatever reason, the members of the public who are interested in tonight's session have not been allowed access yet, so we're just going to pause to allow them to come in.
Okay, thank you. We'll carry on now. Any apologies, please?
I've not received any apologies.
No. Item 2.
Councillor Jangir Khan, Chair.
Item 2, late items. I have a late item which I think the committee have all had sight of, considered to be an urgent and relevant part of the discussion this evening, and that is the email received from a Mr. Hussain. Sorry, I haven't got it written down in front of me. Has everybody seen that email? Anybody not seen the email? And we're all happy to have that included. Thank you. Any declarations of interest? Nope. Minutes of the last meeting held on the 14th of March. Is everybody happy with those? Can I have a thank you. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 5, which is the review of statement of licensing, and that's over to Ange, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The first matter is, as Chair has announced, the review of the statement of licensing policy. Derby City Council is a designated licensing authority under the Licensing Act 2003 and therefore is required to produce a licensing policy which sets out how it will exercise its own functions under the Act, but it also acts as a guide to applicants and their representatives of the standards that Derby City Council expect when operators are applying for licences. The policy itself must be reviewed at least every 5 years and published before the next one will take effect in April 2025. Before it can be published, though, the licensing policy must be subject to a full consultation process. The draft revised licensing policy is set out at Appendix 1 of this report. And just to note that all the demographic information will be updated through the consultation process. The authority is required to connect with a number of consultees, including but not limited to the fire, police, other council partners, businesses, and of course the wider public. A full list of those consultees is contained within the report for your information at paragraph 4.6. The responses will be considered, amendments made where necessary, and a revised policy presented to this committee with those recommendations later in the year. The consultation exercise will last for a period of 12 weeks, and therefore the recommendation for this report, Chair, is to approve the draft statement of licensing policy for release for consultation purposes.
Thank you for that. Any questions about that? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Could I just ask for a bit of an overview or heads up of any significant deviations from the previous policy, if indeed there are any, in the new document?
Yes, I think once consultation's been ended, then the policy will come to committee for us to then go through it. And also, you're free to make any representations to that consultation as well, and please do so if you think something needs changing. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Would it not help the public, though, as well, to see that any significant changes in the policy, so it's marked when it goes out to consultation?
I think I think the report says there's no significant changes at the moment, but correct me if I'm wrong, Angela.
Yes, that's correct. The policy that's out for consultation does not have any major changes in it itself. That's the purpose of the consultation paper. Once the consultation paper is formed into a draft policy following receipt of the consultation responses, they will be highlighted so that we can see where those amendments have been made.
That's great, thank you.
Any further questions on this? Okay, so we are 2.1 to approve the attached draft statement and licensing policy for release for consultation, which will be 12 weeks. Are you happy with that? Yeah, thank you. So, moving on to item 6. The review of Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Age and Emissions Policy. That's Andrew again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before we go into the main body of the report, I thought it would be prudent to give members a little bit of history behind the existing age policy. The Age and Emissions Policy emerged as part of the Taxi and Private Hire Strategy 2020. That was presented to the committee in 2019. It contained many elements, but a précis of the original ask for this purpose was that from the 1st of January 21, all Hackneys and private hire vehicles would be a minimum of Euro 6 diesel or ZEC ULEV, and that all Hackney carriages and private hire vehicles over the age of 10 years would ordinarily be refused a licence. That would be unless the vehicle was in exceptional condition and passed an approved exceptional conditional vehicles check. It was also suggested in that document that all vehicles should undergo 6-monthly testing. To ensure that the council understood local views and that these views were informed, a 12-week public consultation was undertaken from the 8th of March to the 31st of May 2019. Feedback was welcomed from taxi and private hire drivers and operators, trade representatives, residents, local businesses and statutory bodies, all to help identify and develop further the draft proposals. Forums such as the Disability Groups, Race Equality Hub and the 50+ Forum were all engaged with. Council officers also held 6 workshop sessions. This was held over 2 days with members of the trade and the public. The workshops included a presentation, a summary of the proposals, and question and answer sessions. Participants were also encouraged to complete the survey online, although paper copies were already made available. On the 20th of August 2019, the Licensing Committee considered the revised strategy, which took into account the results of the consultation and agreed amendments to the Age and Emissions Policy as set out in paragraph 4.4 of this report. In addition to that, it was agreed that vehicles 5 years and under from the date of first DVLA registration would be subject to 12 months inspections, and with vehicles over 5 years requiring 6-monthly inspections. That overview brings us nicely back to the present day and the purpose of tonight's report. A petition has been received containing 55 signatures, 53 of those which were valid, and that was submitted requesting reconsideration of the age policy that was agreed in 2019. The grounds for which are contained in paragraph 4.8 of your report. Paragraphs 4.9 to 4.15 provide some clarity and reasoning, with 4.16 highlighting some of the pros and cons relating to the request. As you've heard, there has also been another objection received, and Chair has made the details available to you. In this matter, the first consideration is whether the committee accepts or rejects the petition. If the petition is accepted, then the further 2 recommendations on the report can be presented. That would be for committee to approve a 12-week public consultation period. That would be to consider whether there should be an amendment, whether the policy should be rescinded, or whether the policy should remain as it is, and come into effect as originally determined on the 1st of January 2025. The second part of that request, if the petition is accepted, is that the committee delegate to the Director of Communities, following consultation with the Chair, the authority to consider any valid representations received within the consultation period and to take appropriate action if required to address such representations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Angela. Questions? Councillor Sandy.
Thank you, Chair. I know we approved this in 2019, but 2019 was different. But now we are going through living crisis, and it's not just driver who've been affected. Everybody life have been affected with the living crisis. So I think we should accept the petition, and we should recommend for a consultation, 12-week consultation. Once that's done, that consultation should come back to committee to decide.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pandy.
Sorry, Angela. Could I ask, 55 put the petition, but how many total drivers are there in Derby? Are they 1,000? The total number of drivers in Derby licensed to us?
We have 696 private hire drivers and 281 Hackney carriage drivers who are dual badged.
Okay, so out of those, only 55 are petitioned, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just in addition to that, subsequent to the petition being received, we did also receive the AGM minutes from the Drivers and Trade Operatives Association that has 60 members. They were also objecting to the implementation as per the agreed date, and we were requesting that it be delayed. Now, there may be some overlap, but it's not just the 55. There were an additional 60 outside of the petition.
Sorry, I'm not sure we can consider that at all because we haven't seen sight of that at all. That should have been included prior to the meeting.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. It did come in prior to the papers going out, so that is remiss on our part. But what I will do is I can circulate or dismiss as you see fit.
But it can't be considered this evening.
Yeah, just for context.
Councillor Rawson and then Councillor Smale.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I think it is reasonable to consider this again. The world is a very different place to 2019. We have the cost of living crisis that's hit everyone, really, and that includes taxi drivers, and the economy's changed in terms of the spend, the nighttime economy. So I think it's a genuine concern that's being raised here, and for the sake of extending, spending a few weeks doing some further consultation to decide whether this is still appropriate, then I think that's worth doing, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smale.
Thanks, Chair. Unfortunately, I don't agree with the petition. I think, obviously, we had an extensive consultation back in 2019. The original proposal was 10 years, and obviously it got amended to 15. My biggest concern is we're in danger of continuously extending it. If we do it once now, I fear we're going to be ending up to coming back in a couple of years' time with the same proposal, and we're literally we're going to crawl back to the old policy that we originally have. the front of our mind should be public safety. And I'm not discounting that there's any vehicles out there that isn't suitable, but we must be thinking about public safety here. And we've also got to think about even the city's own climate emissions targets. And I have got great concerns that if we keep rolling this forward, the city is not going to meet those targets with this policy itself. And this council is obviously quite clear that it wants to be green moving forward. And I feel like this could be very contradictory to that. So for me, I sympathise at the fact that there has been a cost of living crisis and there's been the pandemic, but we've had 6 years with this policy in mind. And also, there's been obviously strong objections, but I think it's a smack in the face to those taxi drivers who have made the transition an effort already. I think even within the first 3-4 weeks of when we moved into the new policy back in 2020, we had a mass array of new vehicles coming onto the streets being used by the public. And I just feel like that those taxi drivers who have really put their effort into making this policy work is a bit of a slap in the face to them by saying we are now going to extend it to beyond 15 years. So for me, unfortunately, I won't be voting in favour of this petition. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pandy.
Thank you, Chair. I have similar objections. Actually, I wanted to bring up the point, the email that we have received about the vehemently opposing, because some of the drivers have already made the switch. So I won't be agreeing to this on that basis. And also, I've used some of the taxis recently, and I have unfortunately used those older taxis. They're not nice to sit in. I think customers who are paying for taxis, they should be, you know, they are paying a premium money to use taxis, so they should be, the vehicle should be nicer, cleaner, and within, I would have preferred 10 years, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mulhall.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be relatively brief. I think my two colleagues, Councillor Pandy and Councillor Smell, have pretty much alluded to the reasons why I'll be objecting as well. Safety is paramount, but also so is stability. And I think if we just continually kick this can down the road, it's just going to cause even more trouble and problems further down the road. So yeah, I will not be supporting this petition.
Thank you. Councillor Chambers.
Yeah, safety is paramount, and we do have one of the highest tick boxes for licensed vehicles in this city, hence why we get people from Wolverhampton and Gedling, etc., licensing their taxis there to use here. So I don't understand why we can't just put this back for a short while, based on we have just been through a very unprecedented time in terms of the pandemic, in terms of the cost of living crisis. We're not asking to kick it back X amount of years, we're asking for a few weeks for us to just re-look at this. If you look at the licensing that we've got, it's on a decline. If you look at the last, what they've given is here on the table, we're losing drivers left, right and centre, and we're going to lose more of those at that high standard if we don't look at this moment in time and just be a little bit sympathetic to what has just happened in the last few years in the world. Okay, thank you.
So just on that, what do we do in 12 months' time when another petition comes? Where's the end going to be? Will there ever be an end? Because there can constantly be a new petition every year. So I'm just asking those who are for this where the end point will come.
Well, the end point, Chair, will be in a few weeks when we get the consultation back, and the committee, I would suggest that it's better for the committee to make that decision at that point in 12 weeks that's been proposed.
Any further questions?
Just to add, I understand where Councillor Chambers is coming from, but and then there's always the threat of losing taxi drivers to neighbouring authorities or other licensing authorities such as Wolverhampton. But that's not the City Council's problem. We have a high standard of care with our policy, and if taxi drivers do want to go to Wolverhampton to license their cars, then my opinion, so be it. Because that's on the conscience of Wolverhampton City Council and the committee members who sit on that. And if they want to license taxi drivers at an incredible rate, which they're already doing, then that's on their conscience. So for me, I am quite comfortable with refusing it on the basis if they go to Wolverhampton City Council, because there will be a reason for why they're doing that. So I am very comfortable with the approach that we've taken in our licensing strategy in the last 6 years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to clarify this issue about Wolverhampton taxes and whether or not that's a relevant consideration to take into account tonight. It is not. And I think it's important as the legal advisors of the committee to ensure that I don't let committee walk away thinking the Wolverhampton situation is relevant. It's not. The council, as a regulatory body, is not obliged to consider whether or not it's going to lose revenue or trade. Its fundamental duty is to ensure that for the trade which it is responsible for, it has appropriate policies in place. And so whether now or at a later date, if the Wolverhampton question came in, I'd have to say to committee, you have to disregard that as a relevant consideration.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Chen.
Yeah, just to clarify on that point, I said we've got a high standard in the city, which we have. So in that respect, I just think, like you're saying, safety is paramount. We've already got a very high standard. So for us to delay this for, is it 12 weeks? Did you say, Martin, not 12 months? 12 weeks. I just think, yeah, that's the right thing to do in this particular instance.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay. Yeah, we're going to have a vote and a show of hands. So, for recommendation 2.1, that the committee accept or reject the petition. So, all those who accept the petition. And all those who don't accept the petition. So the petition is rejected. So therefore we do not need to go to the 2.2, 2.3 recommendations. Thank you very much. So at this point, I would be moving on to item 7 on the agenda, but I think you've all had an email again that has been withdrawn this evening due to technicalities arising from an outstanding objection. So that concludes the meeting this evening. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.